Alright, so we just finished up soldering all the little connections on there. Got the heat shrink on the wires covering the terminals, and I just kind of put everything back together back where they're supposed to go, and put some zip ties on there just to kind of help clean things up a little bit. So basically all I have to do now is just do the wiring for the backlights, and this will be pretty much finished. So well, no, I have to do the backlights and then make the obviously make the connections up here, trim these long wires kind of short, and then put my plug on there, and then we'll be done. So let me go get the backlights, and we'll start wiring those up. Alright, here's the connector that I mentioned in a previous video that I was going to use to mate the wiring end of the gauges to the wiring harness that's installed in the truck. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use this. I don't have enough of the little connectors that fit inside of this plastic piece for all the wires that I have, and I can't find them, the appropriate ones. I could find the female end connectors that fit in this receptacle at my local auto parts store. I can't find the male end connectors that fit in this one, so not going to use that. And what I came up with is this is a standard turn signal horn wipers connector for pretty much every GM vehicle, and a lot of this came in that wiring harness that I installed in my truck. And I actually bought two wiring harnesses. One was several years ago for another project, which I did not use a GM steering column. So basically I had this piece left over where I just snipped the wires and mated them up to an aftermarket kind of column mounted turn signal switch. I think you know what I'm talking about. And a horn, put a horn button on the dash and stuff like that. So I cut this out and I didn't need it. But I still had the box, even though I used most of the parts. There were still some that were left, and I held onto the box of parts. And then I bought the same wiring harness for this project that I'm currently working on, this 77 C10. And so effectively I had doubles. This piece right here is actually a factory piece off the factory GM wiring harness. And really all I did, I snipped it off the harness, and I popped out some of the little plugs inside there and added them to this piece. So now I have 10 wires coming out of here, and basically I have 10 unique wires on this gauge bezel. So literally all I'm going to do is utilize a GM turn signal plug connector for my gauge wiring. And these came in the wiring harness kit that I got. These are the male end of the turn signal connector, which they plug into this piece right here. Of course, the female end is here. I've already got a couple little small leads out of there. So basically I just got to crimp these on to my wires and then plug them in here. And the reason I'm doing this, I went to the store after I realized that this would not work. I went to the parts store and I found GM weather pack connectors. And I'll show you something real quick. I took a picture when I was at the auto parts store. So this is a photo that I took at the auto parts store. Now this is a GM weather pack connector. It's a 3-wire connector, and this is the female terminal. The male terminal is right next to it, to its right. It is also $13. So for me to connect 3 wires, it would cost me $26. To connect 6 wires would be $52, and to connect 9 wires would cost me $78, and I'd still have a wire left over. So it would cost me over $80, and then add in tax, and for this project, that's just not going to happen. So that's why I'm going this route. It's just much more cost effective, and it's just as good. This is a one-way connector. It goes in there something like that. You cannot install it like that. It will not fit. So really now I just have to take the time to make sure that my wires on this end made up with the appropriate wires on this end, and anytime I need to take the bezel out of the truck, I just pop it out, and I can pop it back in, and I don't have to worry about, you know, this connector being in backwards, because it literally cannot go in backwards. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm still wiring up the dash, and we'll get this project finished.